Welcome back, everyone, to Talking Devils podcast, brought to you by talkthedevils.co.uk, your number one independent Manchester United podcast. For once, it's a Friday where we're not talking about a defeat, which is great. So we've all these good spirits heading into the bank holiday weekend. Well, it's bank holiday weekend here in Ireland. I don't know what story is in the UK, but as
I work
always,
for an English company, so I get the bank holiday.
good. That's good. But as always, here to talk all things Manchester United. We're going to talk, obviously, we'll touch briefly on the Chelsea game. We're going to look ahead to Brentford on Monday. Also going to chat about the FAU Cup final on today's show because lads did come through the U Academy, so great to get their insight. Obviously, just a couple of minutes before we've gone live, obviously there's breaking news that Matt Judge has left Manchester United. So good chat about that and see what that means for our recruitment structure going forward. And maybe we get insight from the two lads and Reese in terms of who they'd like to see coming into Man United going forward. First of all, Reese, haven't talked in a while, and of many people within the United probably podcasting community, we're the only two really who thought we'd probably get something out of last night's game. Funnily enough. But we'd touch on the game in a minute. But first of all, how are you, sir?
First of all, being called sir, I feel old but privileged. Don't know how these two feel. But I feel good, thanks. Funnily enough, I did think we'd get a draw. I didn't think we'd beat Chelsea, but I did think we would see something concerning like the new manager. We didn't get it last week against Arsenal, but against Chelsea, I thought we would get something, and it's kept me in good spirits. And it's good today that we've also got the news of Matt Judge. I think that's good for the club going forward. It's raised it a bit more, I would say. It's given me a bit more confidence in the club going forward, and there's only maybe one or two more things to change. One's very obvious. The other, I think, is just recruitment. Realistically, that's the other one. But it's good, and I'm good as well. Thanks, and as always, it's a pleasure having me on. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic for you to be here. And as always, look, it's always good to be here on a Friday evening, regardless of what the results are like as of late or other situations that are going on with the football club. But Lee, how are you, pal? How's things?
Same old, mate. All good, thank you. Bit of mixed feelings about yesterday. I'm sure we'll touch them in a bit. You know, cracking results compared to what I thought was going to happen. I was the complete opposite to you. I thought we was going to get our asses handed to us, if I'm being honest. So happy with the results. Performance wise, not so happy, but I'm sure we'll touch on that in a few seconds.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We're going to delve into that in a moment. Mr. Marsh, how are you, my pal?
Yeah, good. Thanks, mate. Everything's fine from my end. Again, I think last night, tale of two halves. Thought we was really, really poor in the first half and slightly better in the second half. Let's just leave it at that until we sort of dig into it a little bit more in a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. But Reese, obviously, before last night's game took place, another successful protest again from 1958 last night. Thousands of Man United fans outside Old Trafford peacefully protesting. Green and Gold was on show. Obviously, got a lot of media coverage last night. I know we talked about it on last Friday's podcast in terms of obviously that last one happened during the 3 o'clock blackout. Now we got major media coverage for yesterday, and there was a massive message sent from United fans yesterday in terms of the amount of empty seats that were in Old Trafford for the first 17 minutes of the game yesterday. When you've seen that turned out in the protest for a second week running, and obviously, it's a huge message being sent to the owners of the football club. As a fan of Manchester United, are you proud of 1958 and kind of what they're achieving at the minute?
I am actually, because it's great that it's not just an initiative or a Glazers out movement. It's wholesale, and it's about the club getting back to a position where we as fans, obviously, like Phil and Lee are more than just fans. Like, they played for the club, like they know what it means. They have that understanding. But me and you, as just lifelong fans, we just want to see the club back under an ownership that actually, to say it nicely, gives a damn. And wants to see this club go back to the top of the European elite and the world elite, pretty much. Not just not just English elite, because we're still, to a degree, one of the elite clubs. We just don't act like one. But I think it's great to see that there is a fan group who, unlike previous protest movements where you thought there'd be a bit of action, it dwindled a bit. I think is probably the most respectful comment after we saw the big massive protest during the Liverpool game last season. It kind of dipped a little bit. It's unfortunate that it happened, but the 1950 are very committed to the home games. It's 2 in a row. I think that's good. I think they are going to do the last 2 home games of the season, which is
we've only one more.
Next one more. Sorry, I forgot we do have that. Sorry, that was our last home, like our second to last home game, but it's probably the biggest one. Like Chelsea's probably the biggest one. One more to go. I think it's good what they have to keep doing though. They've got to continue it with any way they can throughout the summer, any way they can, and into next season. Like as much as it matters, you cannot let this go. Obviously, for us, like we want to have a great summer. We want like the likes of Murto, Ten Hag to have a great summer for them, getting the squad prepped. That's a great step forward, but we have to maintain the whole Glazers out. It cannot stop now. Like we've already went into that process where it's protest after protest. Got to remain committed, and judging by what the turnout's been lately, I don't see that changing, and I'm glad with that. And I think another good thing as well is the Chelsea ownership situation. I think that's going to tell another story where like, obviously more bids are coming in for Chelsea. It looks like they're going to get a new owner very soon. I think that'll actually send another message to the Glazers as well as like, well, these are Chelsea fans who aren't even protesting. Obviously, they've got their own circumstances, but they're going through it. We are going to deal so much pressure if we continue to protest. Eventually, I wouldn't be surprised if 1, 2, maybe 3 big bids come in for United. Might not be this year, it could be next year. But I wouldn't be surprised if something tempting came in where they decided actually we don't have this relationship that we want with the fans. They've never had it anyway. Best decision is probably to sell up, and as long as they get the right bid in that matches the fans' expectation, there's someone who's committed, then I think is great. And for me, that's ideally the next step, forcing them into selling one way or another without obviously physical violence. We don't need violence. Like our fans' voice is loud enough. That's always loud enough to do it.
Yeah, 100%. I 100% agree. And I think that what they're doing at the minute is fantastic in terms of, peacefully protesting, getting a large number of fans and mobilising. And look, if I know for a fact, with seeing who, like, I don't know who's behind the 1958, but from what I'm seeing, who's fronting these protests, they're very respectable people in the fan base. From people I'm seeing who are attending these protests, and they have a lot of pull within the fan base. So, if this continues, I can definitely see this being something that's sustained, going into next season. And look, regardless of what happens in the summer, like I think when you look at it, really, in the summer the club's probably going to want to make a statement on where a new manager and new staff coming in that they'll make an X amount of signings. That look. We all know that won't make a difference. I do think this is probably the most consistent fan group that we're going to have. Going forward, that will help. If not get rid of the owners, but force the owners to actually develop a relationship with the fans.
Yeah.
Not like it mightn't be an amicable relationship, but communication. Like I think that's something that they haven't done in 17 years.
The best way for the Glazers, I think Phil and Leo touch up on this a little bit more, but I think they most likely will agree. The best way for the Glazers to have a relationship is to clear the debt and pump money into the club, their own money. The Glazers are billionaires themselves. They've got money. They could easily reinvest into the club, clear the debt, put as much money into the likes of Carrington, the stadium, whatever, and just continue to invest. They don't have to invest 300 million every summer on a transfer budget, but they can show interest and actually put money in. That is like, and continue to pump money in that will lead to more success, which will lead to more revenue. And then if they want to take £25 million dividends, like, fine, they can do that, but only once there's money being invested into the club that's actually going to lead to success. I agree with Gary. Haven't agreed with Gary Neville a lot lately, but I do agree with his comments about shareholders and owners. They shouldn't be taking dividends until United are actually being successful, because the money in like our equity balance is so low. If you're in a failing business, no owner should take money like that, because that really makes it worse. That makes a relationship very, very toxic, and we already know how toxic the relationship is between fans and the Glazers. That's the best way for them to get back on a relationship. Pump money in, clear the debt, and then invest heavy. But I'll be surprised if they do. I'll be surprised.
Yeah, I doubt that happens. Look, I think the main thing is I think we all want them out. And look, that's the best I can say about that, because I feel like this moment in time, the people who are fronting the protests are the people who, need to drive this home. But Lee, obviously, again, the second week running that this has happened, and again, looks like the protests are getting bigger and bigger, by week. Are you confident as a former player at the football club that this will, like, as players, will the players be talking about this? Will this be getting noticed by the football club?
100%, mate. Yeah, I mean, all we have to do is watch the games today, and it's getting mentioned live on TV, and they're showing them protesting outside the ground, and then they're showing them all walking down the 17th minute, and Gary Neville talking about it. So it's getting out there. The guys are doing a good job on getting it noticed, and fair play to them. It's like there's not much really, but we can add what Reece just said. I think Reece summed it up perfectly. It's been a long time coming. We've needed something like this to happen for a good while. I was just listening to about the dividends and things like that. I mean, I just put it back to myself. Now I run a small, a small business where I'm classed as a director, and there's no way on this earth I'd be taking any kind of dividends or anything out of my business if I weren't performing well. And for me to perform well means I get more work. So if I was to do what the Glazers are doing, bear in mind a bazillion times bigger than what I do, I only run a small family-run business. But if I was to do that, my company would fold. It's not sustainable. It's something we can't do. Although we're talking about billions of pounds here with Man United, it's still the same structure and still the same thing. You can't draw money out of a club what's not being successful, and to be successful, the ultimate goal is to perform. So it's these protests. It's obviously going to be getting through to the Glazers and the people where it needs to get through, and we just have to hope that they take it on board, and like I say, hopefully either sell the club, or if not sell, like I say, there's not much more to add to what we said, but they need to show interest. They need to show that the ball. I've gone. Can anyone hear me?
I can hear you.
You can hear me. Sorry.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Everything went off then, mate. Yeah, I was just saying they need to at least to show a bit of interaction and show that they've got a teeny bit of interest in the club, because at the minute they just look like it's a business which makes money. They can draw dividends out of, and they don't care about how the performances on the pitch, how it's being run, or what we look like as a football club on the whole. So there's things that need to change. The guys are trying to do it. They're doing a great job. Hopefully, like I say, it'll continue into next year and continue until they actually take note and do something about it.
Phil, do you think that this can be sustained? Do you think this can be something that even like during pre-season, that this is something that could definitely still be kept up? Obviously, we've a worldwide fan base, and obviously we know where the pre-season games are on. Can this be something that can go worldwide? Do you think, like, obviously with the amount of like stuff that these owners have done, do you think this is something that could go worldwide? And this is something we're all like the media coverage and with everything that's going on. Do you think even the fans abroad, where these games are going to be on, do you think they can sustain protests? Let's say during pre-season when it's in China and Australia, places like that. Do you think that these protests can be maintained?
Yeah, I think they will be. I don't think they'll obviously have all the sort of followers from here in England, but I think as we've just touched on there, Man United's not just a massive club in England; it's a massive club all over the world. So if people are seeing this kind of stuff that's going on and they feel the same way that a lot of the fans feel, over here in England, then I'm sure there will be the fans wherever, they go on the pre-season tours and wherever the games are held that are going to try and, follow suit and try and, help the club, because I think the vast majority of the fans have all got the same sort of end goal, and we all want the sort of, same things really, the proper fans anyway. So for me, yeah, these protests will most likely carry on, whether it be, smaller parties of people or, things that are getting done in different ways. I don't know. But you'd think that, this is, a sort of thing that everybody's trying to pull together on and get the club back to where it needs to be, because it's obviously gone on for far too long. We've already touched on, both lads have already, talked about all the stuff, what they've done wrong over the period of time that they've been at the club, and everybody just sort of wants, the club to be back in a healthy situation and being run in the correct way. And I think that's just, sort of the overriding feeling from a lot of the fans. So yeah, I hope it does carry on, because as I say, you don't want something to just sort of fizzle out and, things carry on and go back to normal and it just gets sort of swept under the carpet, because I think it's been a really good, as you said, peaceful protest. We're all sort of pulling in that direction of, where we want the club to be. So fingers crossed it does carry on and eventually, the right thing will happen.
Yeah, 100%. And see things like the Megastore and all that type of stuff being closed on a match day. That happens every single home game. Eventually, these all little things will make a difference. Sponsors been hit. Sponsors will be getting a bit anxious if they're not selling as much on a match day. Do you know what I mean? They're not selling as much those stuff in catering. They're not like the executive section being blocked off. Like that's massive as well. Like I know, and it's all been done, albeit again, as I would stress, all been done in a peaceful way. Like what 1958 are doing, what this fan group are doing, they're doing it in a way where there's no violence or anything like that involved, but they're doing it in a way where it's respectable and it's in numbers. And I think that's what will catch an eye. And look, long may it continue, because I think it's about time these parasites still leave the football club. I think that's the best word I can use right now. And it's about time they leave. They're not wanted here, not by the fans or former players or anyone who has any love for this football club does not want them here. Simple as that.
Got another thing to say, Keane, if you don't mind as well. I think another good thing about the 1950 as well is these are season ticket holders as well, so they're not going to give up they're not giving up their ticket as well to anybody. So they're going to be at every single game. So like, all due respect to like fans who are coming in from like abroad or traveling down to Manchester from say like Scotland, or they're traveling from Wales, or they're traveling to Ireland, or even from Europe, you're still going to have that large core of like the 1950 isn't like, in terms of that sense, season ticket holders who are going to drive it. So you've got like that specific season ticket area. They're not going to lose those tickets, and that's something that even like the Glazers know that they can't afford to lose that money. I think that's another reflection as well. So if they continue to renew their season tickets as well, that will hurt the fact is like, shit, we cannot stop these guys, and that'll force more pressure.
Yeah, 100%. I absolutely agree. And look, hopefully this is maintained going into next season and pre-season, and hopefully until they're gone, essentially. But Phil, I'm going to come back to you, and we're going to go the whole way around on this in terms of Chelsea game last night. We got a comment in there just about, obviously, Rashford jogging on the pitch, Ronaldo coming from the left back. We'll touch on that in a moment, but you mentioned there kind of briefly on the podcast, Phil, about obviously, it was a tale of two halves yesterday. Obviously, the first half wasn't great. Second half was a slight bit better, and we did react well after we conceded a goal. But in terms of like individual players and performances yesterday, what was your feeling? Because for me, it just looked like, even though like for weeks and weeks and weeks I've been saying this team just doesn't work hard, it just isn't in them. But I looked at body language yesterday and they just looked mentally checked out. What do you think about the performance yesterday?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think as I said before, the first half performance was, shocking. I think Chelsea, should have probably gone in at half time, probably 2 or 3 up, and that would have been, that wouldn't have really flattered them, I think, with the amount of chances that they had. Other than De Gea pulling off some good saves and poor finishing from them, I think, the game would have been over. Which has been a bit of a story of our season, really, because I've said this numerous times on the podcast about how we've been poor in one half and then, a bit better in the second half or vice versa. I just feel as though at this moment in time, the players have just, that, as you said then, they've checked out. I think there's probably 1 or 2 who, second half yesterday did themselves a little bit of a favour and put a bit of an effort in and shown a little bit of quality. But other than that, I just thought it was really poor. Just the big thing that stands out for me is obviously, watching a lot of football this week, and obviously I had the sort of pleasure of, unfortunately, watching the semi-finals of the Champions League games with City and Liverpool. I watch them teams, and obviously they're both, peak of the powers at the moment. They're both playing really well, and no one can deny that. But what I sort of enjoy watching when I do watch them teams is the way that they press and the way that they go in, 2s, 3s and 4s, and it's not just, 1s and 2s and getting picked off. And I think last night for us, in that first half especially, I think that was the sort of biggest downfall for me when we was trying to win the ball back. We was getting beaten quite easily by the first press, and then the midfield were left exposed. He was playing, balls in behind our midfield, and he was just running onto our back 4. And it happened, 5 or 6 times in that first half. And it was just really poor. I think second half, the cat's behind it, she trying to get on the podcast, didn't you?
I think the cat's trying to intercept you like Chelsea's midfielders were yesterday.
Yeah, that's what it was. It just snuck in on the blind side. But yeah, I think second half we got a little bit more sort of control at times. Still wasn't great. But again, Ronaldo pops up with a moment of magic. It was a great little ball from Matic, and sort of, I don't think we deserved a point, but Chelsea will look back and rue their missed chances. So yeah, it was a sort of strange game in a way, because I thought we didn't really deserve anything, but second half we sort of shown a little bit that just sort of got us that little one moment, and Cristiano's one of them. He needs one chance and he'll find the back of the net. He's proven that many times this year. So yeah, again, it was a disappointing performance. Obviously, we'll touch probably on individual performances. I thought the left hand side was a shambles last night. I thought Telles and Rashford were so exposed. Reece James had a fantastic game. I thought he was the best player on the pitch for me. Some of the balls he was putting in. But again, I think anybody on who gets that amount of time, who plays in the Premier League, can whip balls, and if you're not going to put them under pressure and you're just going to leave them acres of space to deliver, then what do you expect? So yeah, that was my thoughts on the game, and I'm sure we'll go into sort of individual players in more detail in a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned Man United's left side. Wanted to come to Lee on this. Being a former United left back yourself, obviously the form of Alex Telles Lee at the moment has been called into question quite recently, obviously with the absence of Luke Shaw, and obviously like Marcus Rashford yesterday as well. Like it's been pointed out a couple of times in the comments in terms of like he didn't track back much yesterday. And like Ronaldo at 37 years of age playing as a lone striker, tracking back more than Marcus Rashford yesterday. When you factor in like Telles' position as a left back and also Rashford's lack of work rate, being a former left back yourself, like what are you thinking when you look at that level of like, I suppose dysfunctional nature on that left hand side of United's midfield and obviously back 4? Like what are you thinking watching these games?
To be honest, mate, for me, Telles had an absolute shocker. Bear in mind, he was up against Reece James, and let's be honest, Reece James is a real good player. You know what I mean? So it was up against it a bit, but it just proves what we've been saying all year about the team wanting to play for each other. Obviously, if you're a left back and you know you're up against a real good player in the likes of Reece James, you expect your left winger to give you a bit of cover and a bit of help. Where Rashford was just a passenger. Let's be honest now. It didn't affect the game going forward whatsoever. He didn't track back, so he didn't affect it coming backwards or help Telles out. You know, for me, it was evident after 20-25 minutes that he didn't want to be there, he didn't want to work, he didn't want to try. If I'd have been the manager, I'd have dragged him off at half time. I've got to be honest with you. He would have. He doesn't take a football knowledgeist to know that, you know, his head wasn't in the game. It was obvious from the start, really. Telles caught out of position so many times, didn't know whether to cover his centre backs, didn't know whether to go tight with Reece James. You know, just got caught out of position so much, and a lot of it was just to do with simple communication. But we've said it all year, they don't communicate, they don't play as a team, there's no team effort, there's no team spirit. It looks like they're all out for themselves. And, you know, we've probably exhausted this now over the season on saying the same things. But yeah, things have got to change drastically. And for me, they've got to learn how to play as a team. If we don't learn how to play as a team, we ain't going to improve, mate. But fullbacks wise, both fullbacks for me are not Man United material, or should I say, all four fullbacks are Man United material, which is a bit scary, really. But it needs to be strengthened. It needs to be improved. Well, hopefully, Ten Hag will have a look at that and sort something out there now.
Definitely, I think Eric Ten Hag, if he's watching these games of football, he must be thinking, I need a serious overhaul for these fullbacks. And hopefully, well, to be fair with Ten Hag, he has two very good young fullbacks, Neaton Laird and Fernandez, who I think should be understudies to the new right and left back we buy in the summer. I think.
So I think it's too what I was going to add. I didn't really understand the substitutions. Don't get me wrong. I think when Mata come on, he played quite well, to be honest. And he brought Phil Jones on. But if I'm that manager, and I'm sure most of you lads will agree with me, we want to be putting the young lads on there, don't we? You know what I mean? We want to be having a look at what we may have. Have we got any little diamonds in the rough there? The lads what could be the future. These lads who's putting on are leaving at the end of the season. Why put them on? You know what I mean? It baffled me, that decision. We've said it now for the past couple of weeks. We need to start giving them more than a couple of minutes. Let's have a look at them. Let's see what they can do. You know, fair play to Juan Mata. He's been a great servant for the club and he's been a great footballer. He's had a fantastic career. But who would you rather come on that pitch, Juan Mata or Hannibal, or you know what I mean? For me, it's a bit silly, really. A bit silly substitutions.
Yeah, I always looked at them subs last night and I was thinking, to be fair, right, when it was like Matic coming off, I was thinking, he's played a lot of football, right? The Phil Jones substitution at that time, I was like, right, fair enough. Jones, he can either play midfield or like go drop back into the defence. I was thinking, like, logically in my head, right, that substitution makes sort of sense because Matic has played, like so many games in 10 days, right?
To be fair, I think Matic was United's best player yesterday too. To be fair, I think he was out of the bunch. He had more quality on the ball than the rest of them.
Yeah, I'd agree 100%. I think he knitted things together very well anytime he got the ball. I think out of possession last night a couple of times he got caught, but like his legs,
he's going to get that now.
He is like, and I think on the ball he's very intelligent. Though, to be quite fair to him, I think he's very intelligent on the ball. Obviously, when you're playing with midfield, Scott and Bruno, Matic on his own, is going to struggle against a team like Chelsea. I think, look, we have to get that right. If Fred was playing last night, we probably could have won the game, to be honest. If Fred was on the pitch because his energy and his ball win ability. But yeah, like Lee touched on it there, Reese, in terms of, he's gone there. Lee touched on it there, Reese, in terms of work rate and on the left-hand side. Now, look, I know me and you last season had a lot of conversations about Daniel James, right? And whatever about Daniel James is coming. But no, I need to be honest here because I know like revisionism isn't, ifs, buts, and maybes. But a lot of people talked about Daniel James not being good enough to play for Man United. Which, look, in many respects, it was true. But he always put heart and soul, and he always put in his shift and done a very good defensive job on either side, whereas right back or left back. covering the right back or left back.
Yeah.
We all said, "Oh, I'd rather have Marcus Rashford in the team ahead of Daniel James every day of the week."
Mm-hmm.
United are crying out for a player like him right now in terms of work rate on the wing. Like, what's wrong with Marcus Rashford at the moment, Reece?
Honestly, mate, if I gave you an answer to this, I'd probably get a major honours from a university for a psychology degree. I would probably get a complete dissertation past the highest marks if I could ever figure him out mentally. I physically can't. I've got no answer for him. Like, I just look at him and I think. I said it last night actually, because I was on another show last night, and I'm actually going to stick to my words. I said last night that Marcus Rashford should retire from football. I said it last night. I actually think he should just quit. I don't think he's got the hunger anymore. I said it a month ago. I don't think he's got the hunger for professional football anymore. I don't know if it's the injuries. I don't know if it's his headspace because he's focused elsewhere. But I just look at him and I think he doesn't have that attitude as a professional footballer anymore, and I don't know why, and I can't figure it out. And I want him to get back to where he's at. I don't particularly enjoy watching him right now. It's painful. It's awful. But you know he's got something in his locker that he can deliver. But even like a simple take on a fullback, he can't even beat the easiest of fullbacks in the league now. Not Reece James. He's the best fullback. Like, that's an English fullback anyway. He's the best in the league. But like a fullback plays for Southampton or even Everton, like he doesn't beat them anymore. And I'm just looking at it and I'm thinking, do you even want to play football? I don't know. Personally, last night, I'm the same as Lee. I tweeted at halftime, I would have hooked him for Garnacho at halftime. I would have put Lang on the left wing. I would have hooked Telles as well. I'd put Alvaro Fernandez at left back, and I would have went Garnacho, Ronaldo, Sanchez, Garnacho, Elanga, Ronaldo last night. I would have done as a front three. I don't think Elanga was in it, and I stuck by those words. And I just look at Rashford, and it's not tearing him apart. It's not heavy like tearing him down. But I just look at him and I think, do you want to play football or do you want to do something else? And I look at him, body language, attitude, work rate, commitment, and I don't see a footballer.
Do you agree, Reece, that it looks when he's on the pitch that in his mind now, he doesn't think he's good enough to play at this level? That's what I watched him last night, and I thought to myself, it looks like he's thinking, I ain't going to take this defender on anymore because he's going to take the ball off me. And he looks scared to do anything, you know, as though they've come to the realisation that they're not good enough. I just don't understand it. I just cannot get it in my head. Because a couple of seasons ago, he could take anyone on. He doesn't look quick anymore. For me, he doesn't look fast. When he's running with the ball, or he's attempting to trap back the one or two times he does in a game. His pace looks like it's gone too, which I can't understand.
You know what's funny is like, if you put him in a sprint against Juan Mata, and I'm not joking, you put him in a sprint against Juan Mata, I generally think Juan Mata beats him. Because I agree with you. Mata has no pace anymore. But when Mata came on yesterday, at least for about 10 minutes, at least he looked interested. And he's 34 years old compared to a 24-year-old. That's worrying. And I just look at it and I think, I don't know. If he's got no heart in the game right now, then do a Lingard. Lingard wasn't in it for other reasons, but he took nearly a whole year out of football, and he's back on track to a degree, and he's going to go and do other things in the summer. If Rashford isn't mentally checked in, there's other football clubs. If he doesn't feel like he's good enough for Man United, then fine, but we can find him a place to go. It'd be crap to see a player like that go, but this is Man United. Like, sentiment shouldn't exist anymore. Like, we have to consider factors like this. I mean, he's not up for it. Like, I know it's not the best thing you want to hear, but if he's not up for it anymore, then moving him on might be the smartest decision.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. It's weird because I see the Rashford that played under Solskjaer compared to the Rashford we're seeing under Ralph Rangnick, and I think they're chalk and cheese. They really are. They're the two completely different players. Like, I even went, I've gone up to a good few games this season.
Mm-hmm.
I was there for Rashford's, was it second game at Old Trafford?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, first game at Old Trafford this season when he came off the bench against Atalanta. And he was the same Marcus Rashford of last season. He was taking on players, beating players, scored a brilliant brilliant goal as well.
Mhm.
That pass from Bruno Fernandes that pass from Bruno into Rashford, that game was beautiful. Rashford took on the first Atlanta game and put in the right bottom corner. I remember that well. And it looked like, I was like, geez, it's great to get Rashford back into this team. But it's almost since Ralph's come in. I'm not blaming Ralph by any stretch. I don't know, is he buying into Ralph's system? Because Nikos points it out here, and it's, it is the case. Could it be Ralph's system? But it could be. It could be the fact that what maybe Ralph wants him to do doesn't work. But you can't really say that, though, because there's certain levels of effort you need to make in a game. There's certain efforts you need to make in terms of tracking back and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Maybe you're right, Reese. Maybe he's just mentally checked out at the moment. And maybe, as I said last week, he probably needs a whole summer off. He hasn't had a summer off or any prolonged time off, either like injury-free or other commitments. Like, to be fair, Marcus Rashford has been on the go for a good 5-6 years.
Mhm.
You consider all the games he's played for United under Solskjaer. To be fair, he played for 2 years with injury. Then goes to Euros, misses a penalty. And then obviously has a surgery. All that happens. Then he comes back. Solskjaer gets sacked. Rangnick comes in. I think he needs a mental break from football. I think the two obviously the 1 or 2 months he's going to have off this summer, he needs that badly. Yeah, I think he needs just take that time off. And I mean, when he takes that time off, he needs to stay away from all his as great as what he's doing in terms of beating the Tory government in the UK and making sure the kids are being fed. That's fantastic. Like, from an Irish person looking at what he's doing, and looking at our government over here, I look at Rashford and I applaud him because what Rashford's doing is absolutely remarkable off the pitch.
Mhm.
But what I mean by Rashford taking a break, I mean for this 1-2 months at the end of the season that he doesn't go on his phone, doesn't go on social media. I know it's hard. Trust me, I know that. Go on holidays. Go off on a holiday for yourself. Relax. Don't think about football for whatever how long, 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, whatever how much time you have off between now and start of pre-season. And just relax. Get yourself together mentally. And then come back under a new manager, under a new start, a new system. Potentially a load of new players as well coming in, because there's a load of players leaving, new teammates. Like, Rashford needs to reevaluate himself. Now, would it do him harm to send him out on loan for a year, change the scenery? A player on his wages, I think, would be hard to shift off in a loan deal, but maybe that could be another alternative in the summer. But I think I don't want to jump the gun and sell him yet.
I think a wise move for him would be to look at a player that's actually had the same situation, they completely regressed. If I was Marcus Rashford, I would give Alexis Sanchez a ring, to be honest. Sanchez played 5-6 years on the bounce. Barcelona, Arsenal, Chile, back to Arsenal another year. I think Alexis Sanchez averaged 70. I think he averaged 70, 80 games a year. That's not normal for him, and he was completely ripped apart. And when he came to United, yes, he was regressing at Arsenal in that final season, but under Wenger, who knew how to use him, it was still a slow decline. But when he came to United, it was instant. It was you could see it, and you were like, crap. This is not the Sanchez we wanted. But he had all those games, and he was completely short of confidence. He was burnt out. He couldn't get his form back. He's now doing it in Italy. I think Rashford, from a wise perspective, I think he should look into a player situation and look at Sanchez as a fair comparison and see how he can get his career back on track based on that. I think it would be a wise move. Although I doubt he'd listen to that bit of advice. But I think it would be wise to look at a player who played so many games year on year, didn't have a single rest. Bear in mind, Sanchez didn't have injury problems either. He didn't have a single injury that entire run. But he was completely shot at the end, completely exhausted. He had nothing going for him. It's only taken 2 years to get back on track. I think it would be wise for Rashford to look at that as an example.
I've actually never thought about it like that, and that's a very good point that you've articulated that, Reese, very well. Look, we'll drop the Rashford conversation there. I just want to quickly touch on Brentford Monday. I kind of want to get our starting 11s and our score predictions actually out of the way now, because I'd actually like to touch on Ronaldo if we can after that. Because I think that obviously he's been a massive talking point these last couple of days and weeks. So Reese, I'm going to come to you last, since you're on like the last talking point there. Phil, I'm just going to come to yourself there. Obviously, Brentford have been the entertainers almost this season in terms of their games. They've been a very entertaining team to watch. They've been obviously playing quite well. Thomas Frank looks like he's done a good job with them this season in terms of keeping them up, potentially keeping them up in the Premier League. Between that and obviously Christian Eriksen obviously coming back as well this season, Joe, obviously after the situation at the Euros, are they kind of like one of the fairy tales stories in the Premier League this season?
Yeah, I think they've had a good season overall. You know, they've sort of punched above the weight in certain games. They've played some entertaining football. I remember watching a couple of the games earlier on in the season where I think it was Chelsea actually, where they absolutely dominated Chelsea for a full 45 minutes and just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. So yeah, they've been a really sort of solid first season in the Premier League. They've obviously got some good players, Ivan Toney, Eriksen. I like the other fella. Is it Mbu or I don't know how you pronounce his name. The other sort of forward. I think he's quite lively.
Embuemo.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. So they've got some good players, and again, it's going to be a really tough game because Brentford are the type of team that they come to play. They don't sit back. They play sort of a good brand of football. I think he's got them playing really well this season. The manager, and we're in a moment where at the moment confidence is low. We're not really performing at any sort of real high level. And I've said it numerous times this year, teams are coming now to play against us with no fear factor. If any team now that plays against us are thinking, we can win this game. There's not, any questions in any team's minds anymore about, how many we're going to get beat by. It's, we're in this game, we can win it. So yeah, it's always going to be a tough ask with the way things have been for us this year. 3 games left to go. For me, we just need to sort of try and finish the season with a couple of positive results maybe. And for me, I'm personally at the moment I'm only sort of getting any real joy and happiness in seeing Ronaldo do his thing and be the player that I've always known he can be, because the rest of the players really just don't seem that bothered. And for me, I'm fed up of watching some of these players and the performances and the attitudes, and it just feels as though they're just waiting for the season to fizzle out and that's it really. So it's hard to watch at the moment, but I'll keep supporting them till the end of the season, as we all will. But yeah, it's going to be a tough game because Brentford, we've said are a good team on the day.
Absolutely, and I think they play very good football and they work as well. Like, Thomas Frank might be a bit arrogant in his press conferences, I'm not going to lie, but sometimes you need that arrogance. So sometimes you need your manager to kind of come out and pump his chest out. In that respect. So yeah,
He's a bit like Josie.
Yeah, he kind of has that bit of young Mourinho about him, don't he? He kind of has that bit about him. But yeah, look, he's a good manager, and look with the funding that they had and the fact they're 12th in the league on 40 points, they're more or less safe. I don't think Burnley are going to win that many games between now and the end of the season. Everton are going to pull up that many results between now and the end of the season. I think Brentford are safe. I think that when they smashed Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, I think that more or less saved Brentford. Now, barring a massive catastrophe over the next couple of games, which I don't think will happen, I think Brentford is safe now anyway. And look, see Christian Eriksen back playing ball after what happened at the Euros last year. Like, look, it's great to see him. Look, there's even talks of him, United looking at him on a free in the summer because he's out of contract. Like, with Lingard and all that leaving, I actually wouldn't mind. I'd actually probably take him to take Lingard's spot in the squad, but it's great to see them back, and it's a heartwarming kind of story to see Christian Eriksen back playing, and obviously there's not many good stories in football these days, but like to see that happening and see kind of how he's come back when everyone thought his career would be over after obviously such a tragic incident. It's absolutely great to see, and fair play to him as well for coming back. Because look, to be fair, I think it'd be quite rightfully he could have retired last summer with the career he's had, and obviously with that situation with his health, and the fact he's coming back and playing at the highest level and tearing teams apart, it just shows how much kind of a quality player he is, and it says a lot about his character as well. Touch on Ronaldo, Lee, and then we get our starting 11 score predictions. I just want to get your opinion on Ronaldo, because Phil brought him up. He's been called the problem all season long. The problem. Cristiano Ronaldo now has 17 league goals. He's coupled behind Mo Salah, who's supposedly the best player in the world. Cristiano Ronaldo's doing this in a very dysfunctional team. I've taken a lot of criticism on social media in the last couple of days to say that Ronaldo should get praise. And I'll die on this hill that Cristiano Ronaldo is Man United's best player this season. And he's probably the only one who should be devoid of criticism at this moment in time. Would you agree with that?
Definitely. I mean, I think what we've done, and we've done it since he's come back as a fan base, we've compared him to what the old Cristiano Ronaldo were like. So when we're watching him now and he's on the ball and he's not doing 6 and 7 step overs and beating a man down the wing and things like that, we're still comparing him to when he was then. He's a complete different player now. You know what I mean? And yeah, he gives the ball away the odd few occasions he gets tackled, because it's my age. He's 37 years old. I can't run upstairs now. You know what I mean? And he's running around a football pitch like he's 25-year-old. And you just hit the nail on the head. To be the second top goal scorer in the Premier League in a very, very dysfunctional team where he's not getting. I mean, here we go. Then put him in with Liverpool. Put him in with City. Put him in with Chelsea. Put him in with a team like that will give him proper service. How many goals would he have got?
I think if he's in Chelsea's team, Chelsea win the title. Honestly,
he's way over 20 goals. Way over 20. Now, don't get me wrong. He's not the player that he used to be. We knew that. We should have known that before we signed him. And I think a lot of people were expecting him to still be that kind of player. He's adapted his game. And no matter what you say, he's not a good striker or whatever, he's the second top goal scorer in the Premier League in one of the worst, if not the worst, Man United team of my generation. That speaks for itself for me. You know what I mean? He's banging. He's probably going to bang 20 plus goals in the Premier League this season.
He's 23 goals in all competitions this season.
You know what I mean? That is not that's not a problem. That's a solution to a problem we had, because we were struggling for goals. And if we wouldn't have had him, what would we have had? Let's be honest. What would we have had? Because Rashford, we've touched on Rashford. He's way out of form. Elanga showed some glimpses, but what would we have had? Obviously, what that happened with Greenwood. We although we're like where we are now, for me, Ronaldo, we would have come to us and we would have carried on with the squad we would have had. Imagine the season we would have had, and imagine where we'd be, because we wouldn't have been nowhere near, for me, a top flight finish for as long as we have. Top 4 finish for as long. I
looked at the statistics, Lee. We'd be 12th in the league if Cristiano Ronaldo didn't sign.
Yeah.
Where Brentford are.
You will have other people what will score them goals and get into them opportunities. So you've got to factor that in too. But like Phil mentioned earlier, you give Ronaldo a chance, and inevitably it's a goal. You know, out of 1 or 2 chances, he's going to stick one of them away. So
I think Lee, last night, Roy Keane hit the nail on the head with what he said about it. He said, looking back at certain players like a Ronaldo at the stage of his career he's at now, it used to be the same with like a Ruud van Nistelrooy, because in terms of, when he's out of possession defensively, he's not going to, be one to go and press and track back and, do all the dirty work. But, we as a club now, and when you look at the other teams who are at the top of our league and in world football that do well, the other players all press, and they do have that 1 or 2 players that, maybe don't do it, but they put the ball in the back of the net, and they do the hardest thing that you can do, which is, find your space and get your shots off and put that ball in the back of the net. And he's still doing that now. unfortunately, we haven't got the players at the moment who are capable of, working hard, winning the ball back, doing the basics, and that is why we're so far off. Some of these other teams, and you've got to sort of forgive players at certain times who, he's not working hard because he doesn't want to. He's 37 years of age. He's doing the business.
Look at some of the best Premier League strikers over the years, Phil. Like you like to, as they were getting older too, like you like to Teddy Sheringham. He didn't work back, but it was amazing. Ruud van Nistelrooy towards the end, he wasn't really the biggest workhorse in the world. Zlatan, when he come to us, do you know what I mean? He'd been one of the best. It didn't necessarily work, but when they got that chance and that opportunity, you knew that there was a goal threat there.
Think about as well, Lee. Look, one that that's just after leaving the Premier League, Sergio Aguero.
Yeah. Never
mind just outside. Sergio Aguero wasn't a massive player for tracking back.
No. I think when you're a striker, and Phil will tell you this a lot more than me, you've got to have a bit of a selfish mind about you too. And like I say, your aim in that team is to help your team, is to score goals, not to be running. Like you said, what we mentioned earlier, one of the guys in the comments with Ronaldo's running back at left back. That's not his job. Do you know what I mean? He shouldn't have to be doing that, because then if he wins the ball back at left back, who the hell have we got up there to score the goals? Because we've got no one. We need Ronaldo up the top when we eventually win that ball back. So,
because as a striker, you sort of, when the ball gets past you, you're then focusing on, right, can I get myself into a position where if we win this ball back, can I get in behind the centre backs?
You're looking at coming short, then spinning if the left back's got it and going down the channels or whatever. Are you? You're not thinking about, I'm going to go and help my centre backs or my centre midfield players, because the gaps what Matic and McTominay was leaving the other night. It was criminal for me. That's one thing we've not touched on too. How we give in that game more or less every player, every time they have the ball, we don't defend aggressively at all from the front to the back. The amount of time we give for that player to pick this pass or that pass, we don't make their mind up for them. They've got every opportunity to do whatever they want on the pitch, and it's that to me was the worst part of that game yesterday.
The disconnect. That little gap, the disconnect was so frustrating. But the way I look at it, the man is meant to be your sitting midfield player, and he's pressing more than the other players. Yeah. That for me is criminal, because he hasn't the legs. He should be sitting there. He should literally be there in front of the two centre backs, being that bit of protection.
He should be like a midfield sweeper. That's how he should have been playing, like I said, a midfield sweeper at the back, and the gaps, what was left was crazy. I was watching it, and I just could not get over the amount of gaps between the midfield two players and then the back four. It was just so disconnected and so dysfunctional yesterday. It was unreal.
Yeah. Talking about dysfunction, though, now the four of us, have to pick a starting 11 for Monday.
Jesus.
Everything else is gone at this moment in time. Literally gone. Top four was always kind of gone these last couple of weeks, but there was always a glimmer of hope. But we're going to pick our starting 11s and we'll do a score prediction. So at the end of the show, I want to touch on the U Cup final, if I may. Just as we finish up, Reese, I know you need to bounce in 13 minutes, so I'll make sure to get these starting 11 and score predictions done before then, okay? Reese, I'll actually come to you first in terms of your starting 11. Give me your starting 11 formation and score prediction all in one, please.
4-3-3, 2-2 draw. Henderson, Dalot, Jones, Varane, Alvaro Fernandez, Fred, Matic, Hannibal, Garnacho, Ronaldo, Elanga.
Okay, nice bit of youth and experience in there. And you went 2-2, yeah?
Yeah, that Brentford caused us hassle in the first game that we played them, and they're a team that I actually said would finish around where they are in the league right now. I had them finishing in the 12th to 14th bracket at the start of the season. They're a good side, they're aggressive, they work hard, and they've got some, not just mentioned players that Phil's mentioned, but their goalkeeper's consistent as well. He's back into form. Their back three is very consistent as well, and they've got two working hard midfielders besides Eriksen. They will give us problems, and I don't think we're capable of actually getting anything. If we get a win, then that's great. That's another one on the bounce. But I think it'll be another draw, to be honest. Yeah, so I'm going for 2-2.
2-2.
Yeah.
Interesting. An interesting starting 11 that Reese has picked there as well. We'll see what happens with their starting 11 bingo in our group chat on Monday. But Phil, give me your starting 11, 1 to 11 formation and score prediction.
I'm going to go 4-3-3, same as Reese. I'm going to go for De Gea, Fernandes, Varane, Baye, Dalot, and then I'm going McTominay, Hannibal, Bruno, Garnacho, Alanga, Ronaldo.
Interesting. Different midfielder, Reese's and different back four.
I think,
and score prediction.
Yeah, I just feel as though, I think, because obviously how poor Tellers was the other day, I'd give the young lad a game. Obviously, Hannibal, I want to see a little bit of him now. And I think Brentford's a better game for him to maybe come in and play. Obviously, I can understand why Ralph maybe didn't start some of the younger lads against Chelsea, because obviously, sort of throwing them to the wolves a little bit in that respect, playing them against, one of the best teams. So I think this is a perfect game to just have a look at them, and we've got nothing to lose. I'm going to go for a entertaining 5-goal thriller. I'm going to say 3-2 United. I think part of that is because I want Ronaldo to sort of keep scoring until the end of the season and get 20 goals, because I think he scored 20 goals in a league season for the last sort of 10 years. I heard a stat or something around that sort of. So I want him to keep that sort of keep that going. So I'm going to go for Ronaldo to get 2 and Garnacho to score on his
Oh, stop! Social media will be imagine, right? Just think about Phil's scenario there. Like Cristiano Ronaldo, Alvaro Garnacho, Alejandro Garnacho. Sorry, I have Alvaro Fernandez on my mind for my starting 11. But like Alejandro Garnacho, right? Imagine the fact that he's trained with Messi, he's trained with Ronaldo, played with Ronaldo, and he scores his first senior goal with Cristiano Ronaldo on the pitch. That'd be just amazing. That's a story. That's an Instagram post. That's happening on Garnacho's Instagram. If anyone's seen his TikTok, like literally, it's Ronaldo's all over it, Messi's all over it. But I don't know what happened. My screen there got a phone call on the laptop. I don't know what happened there. But yeah, it's mental. I think like Garnacho definitely should get a chance, whether it's off the bench or starting. This week. And look, it'd be interesting to see, especially with Hannibal as well, that Phil mentioned. I think in midfield we need a bit of aggression against Brentford, and he certainly does bring that. Lee, we have a 2-2, we have a 3-2, and we've two mad starting 11s. Are you want to say wavelength as lads?
So off same formation. Did you say that Fred was fit, Reece? Did you put Fred in your team?
Yes.
I've just changed mine because I wasn't aware that Fred was fit. So as I'm going along now, I'm just changing my team, what I had written down. Is Wan-Bissaka fit?
I don't know. I don't think he is.
Because I'll give you my team if he's fit then. Because
I would if he was fit, I would start him personally.
I've got Henderson in net, same as Reece. I've got Wan-Bissaka at right back, Varane and Baye as centre backs. I don't think that's what's going to happen, but this is the team that I would pick. Fernandes left back. Tellez doesn't deserve another start for me. My midfield's just changed. I'd have Fred, Fernandes, and Hannibal as a 3. And then up top, I'd have Ronaldo, Alanga, Garnacho. And my prediction is 2-1 to United. Cristiano Ronaldo and Garnacho goal scorers.
Oh, more Ronaldo goal spam. I'm loving this. Everyone's going with Ronaldo. Reece, you never gave us goal scorers.
I just realised that. Ronaldo double, Garnacho double assist.
Oh, I love this Ronaldo spam. Anyone who's
I'm going to raise my prediction. I'm just because these lads have convinced me. I'm going 4-2 United. But I'll leave the last 2 goals for anonymous.
Yeah, we'll leave that one.
It's going to be a centre-back header because we've all been saying it now for the last 20 games.
Yeah, I'll go for it. I'll go for it now then. Yeah, Garnacho to score, get 2 assists. Ronaldo will get 2 goals, and I'm going Hannibal to get his first goal.
Ooh,
And I think it'll be Mbeumo and Ericsson that score for Brentford, to be honest.
Ericsson free kick, most likely.
Ericsson from open play.
Ericsson from a corner probably because we're not bad defense set pieces. But he has scored from a couple of corners in his career as well, so it wouldn't shock me. But
Yeah,
I'm going to go with my starting 11. I'm going to go with a different goalkeeper though. I'm just going to do it I'm sticking to my guns. I'm going Dean Henderson. I'm going to keep going Dean Henderson till the end of the season. I want to see him start a game. Hendo in goal. By process of elimination, I have to play Dallo. But if it was up to me, I'd start Will Fish right back. I really would. But I'm not going to get that option. So,
centre back.
Yeah, he can play right back as well. But I'll go Dallo just by process elimination. I'll go Lindelof and Varane, centre back. Boy's leaving the club. To be fair, I like him. He's a good player, but I don't want any players who are potentially leaving the football club playing. Even though Dallo will be out the door as well, but we've no other right backs, and Laird is out on loan, so we've no other choice really. Alvaro Fernandez at left back definitely should be starting, bringing the attack and full back, and he works hard. So 100% have him there. Midfield 3. I'd love to say I put Charlie Savage in, but that won't happen. I'll go McTominay and Fred to match Brentford's energy in midfield. And I'll go Hannibal in front of the two of them. No Bruno, my 11. Second week running.
Same.
Didn't think I'd be saying that last season. I'll go obviously to go up front. Go Garnacho on the left. Yeah, and I go Garnacho left and Langa on the right. Again, just simply because Rashford's not cutting the mustard and Jadon Sancho's out. So that's what I go with. Just score prediction, I'll go... I'll go 3-2 United as well. I'll go Ronaldo double. But because we have a couple of more players out, I reckon he's going to get called up this week. I'll go Charlie McNeil off the bench. Charlie McNeil off the bench to score the winner. Now that would be absolute scenes on toast. But yeah, I'll go Ronaldo double and Charlie McNeil off the bench. And Dave says get Charlie McNeil up front. I absolutely agree. I'd love to see him get a game off the bench. But yeah, so there's 2 3-2s, 1-4-2, and 1-2. Is it 2-1, Lee, you said on your end? Yeah, so 2-1. We all go United wins for once on this podcast. I don't think last 6 weeks all 4 of us have gone United win, bar the Norwich game. I think that's the last time all of us have said that we all go United win on the show. Which look, I don't know what's going to happen there, but we'll see what happens. Going into next week, but we will review that on next week's podcast. Now, FAU Cup final, lads. Manchester United, Phil and Lee. Last time they were near enough an FAU Cup final, and the record attendance was broken was in 2007 when they played Arsenal at the Emirates Stadium. They sold like 38,000 tickets. Man United are after selling it out. It's going to be over 40,000 in Old Trafford for an FAU Cup final. As 2 former players connected to the club came up through our youth system, how do you feel about that? To see that?
Me or Phil?
Go on, Lee.
It's amazing, mate. Absolutely amazing, and fair play to the fan base for doing it. Like I say, I was lucky enough to play over a 2-year span in the FA Youth Cup. I played a year in front of me, which was, I think we got to the quarterfinals. And then obviously I played my year, and we was lucky enough to be one of the 10 teams out of our history to actually win it. It's an amazing feeling. It's an amazing competition. It propels you to a completely different level, especially if you do win it. And like I think I mentioned on the podcast, when we won it, there was 4 or 5 of my team what got European first team squad numbers. I was lucky enough to to get mine. I had quite a decent running in the FA Youth Cup, and I was rewarded. And that is genuinely what happens if you put the performances in at that age group. You do get rewarded with like say your first team squad numbers and your chances of appearances and training up with the first team. It's a massive tradition at Old Trafford, the FA Youth Cup. It's a great competition for the lads to be involved with. I really hope they can do it. I think the last time they did it was 2011. I know we was 2003, and then I think it went to 2011. So I feel like we're probably due one. We've got the team to do it. We've got the young lads there. We've got the likes of Manu, the young lad in midfield, the 16-year-old.
He's brilliant.
He's a quality player.
He looks like a player. Garnacho, obviously. McNeil is the lad from Madrid, Gerardo.
Yeah.
We've got a few decent names in there. The lads seem like, and the manager seems like he's got them playing as a team. And hopefully it's something for supporters to cheer on. We've not had much to cheer this year. Probably one of the reasons why we're selling so many tickets to actually go and watch us play in a final, because it's been so long since we've been successful as a club. But what a feeling for them lads to play at Old Trafford. Some of them maybe the first time they've played there in front of such a big crowd. It's a memory that they'll have for life. It's one of my fondest memories. I had to finish football at 21 due to injury, so I had a really short career. And as apart from obviously getting my first team squad number and being captain of my country for a couple of years, winning the FA Youth Cup probably tops both of them. On board with going up with Shrewsbury in the conference. When I was on loan, that's another great memory. We played in front of a packed out Stoke crowd, and I'd imagine the feeling I got when I had my own little song at Shrewsbury, and I had a full stadium singing the song, and it's an experience that lives with you forever. And I'm sure when the lads are at Old Trafford playing in such a fantastic ground and in such a fantastic crowd, which hopefully they'll be noisy and they'll cheer the lads on, and it's great for them, and it's a fantastic achievement to get there, and hopefully fingers crossed that they can do it again.
Yeah, 100%. I think, look, this is probably the best youth team we've had. Obviously, well, the results speak for itself in terms of those since 2011. Obviously, we had the likes of Pogba, we had the likes of Lingard, the Keane brothers, Sam Johnstone, in that team, Ravel Morrison. Like, that was a great crop of players. I think if you look at all the other youth teams we've had in that time frame, only one or two has always kind of broke out. Like, you had Januzaj kind of the year later. You had obviously Rashford, McTominay, players like that. They've all kind of gradually broke out. But if you actually look at this group of young players now and this kind of 18s team now, you've McNeil breaking out. You have, Garnacho. You've Hannibal. You have Sidan Iqbal, Charlie Savage, Will Fish, Ethan Laird. I know he's at Bournemouth right now. Ethan Laird, James Garner. These are all come from the same age group, by the way. Do you know what I mean? They've all come from that same kind of, bar Jimmy Garner. Like, they've all come from like the same group of the youth academy. And to see how so many who have first team hopes since the 2011 team is remarkable. So it's great to see, that's continuing, and hopefully, they go out and get the result. And as you said, Lee, it's a great springboard, for from players to go from the academy to the first team. And like, both of you have experienced that before. Phil, obviously you came from the academy to the first team, and you made an appearance in it was Carling Cup then, sponsored by Carling. Then God only knows what it's going to be sponsored by next year or the year after, changing every couple of years. But yeah, like, when you came from your youth team into the reserves, then obviously into the first team. When that happened, like, in terms of that transition, like, how seamless was that transition, and kind of the difference in step up and quality? And like, what was your mentality around that point? Obviously, going from a very successful kind of youth team, a very good reserves team, and then obviously you're playing with like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Ronaldo, Rooney, players like that.
Yeah, it's massive. I think, just listening to Lee there, he had a fantastic experience of obviously winning the Youth Cup. I think we probably had, in terms of quality of players, probably one of the best teams you could ever think of. But unfortunately, our Youth Cup team sort of massively under sort of achieved. We had players, just thinking back to the team we had, Tom Eaton, we had Gerard Piqué, Ryan Shawcross, Johnny Evans, Darren Gibson, Giuseppe Rossi. So, the quality of players that we was playing with at that time was unbelievable, really. So, because you're sort of used to playing with great players, the sort of transition from moving through the youth team into the reserves and then, into the first team, you sort of feel as though, you're playing with really good players all the time. But, from, going to reserve team football and then, making that step up into the first team was huge. It's honestly, it's such a big difference. And you're obviously playing in a game that actually means something. The reserve team games were fantastic, and you get good crowds playing against good players. Obviously playing against good players who's maybe coming back from injury. First team pros. But yeah, when you make that step up to the first team and you're training with the likes of Scholes, Ronaldo, Keane, Ferdinand, and all them, it's just a different world. You've got to sort of be on it every single second, otherwise you get found out. Obviously, I was lucky enough to make my debut and play up front with Ollie, who's obviously a iconic figure at the club. Perfect role model for somebody like myself who was coming in for my first game. Maybe a little bit nervous and sort of not knowing what to expect. He sort of made me feel at ease, as did most of the other lads. But yeah, just great experience for some of these younger players who's going to be playing in the Youth Cup in front of a massive crowd. I always remember the games I played at Old Trafford, and you treasure them moments because you don't get a chance to play at Old Trafford every day. So these lads will be soaking that up, and hopefully they can produce on the night and give the club something positive to sort of shout about. As we say, we've not had a lot to sort of get excited about really in previous years with the first team. So hopefully some of these young lads can give us a little bit of a positive end to this season, and then this could propel them into maybe some of these lads will be involved in pre-season and getting a chance to impress the new manager, because as Lee said, this Youth Cup is such a big part of the club, and it's a sort of piece of history really with the club that a lot of youth team players do come through and get an opportunity in the first team. So hopefully some of these players will get that and they can be part of the future that's hopefully going to be bright moving forward.
100%. And I think, like as you mentioned, I think it's very important that these players grasp this chance now. Like the fact is, it's going to be at the moment it's going to be confirmed about 40,000 people in Old Trafford at that time for that game. And I dare to say United are actually trying to sell more tickets, so we could actually need, I'd say, 45 to 50k in Old Trafford come that game. Like, that's probably the biggest crowd they'll ever play in front of. Obviously, Garnacho and Hannibal have already kind of played in front of a full Old Trafford already. Short Thierry has as well. But like when you actually consider how if they perform well, they can make that jump up to like pre-season under Eric Ten Hag lads who like he has like a great reputation for playing young players. Like you look at like what he's done with Donny van de Beek, Ryan Gravenberch, Alvarez. Look what he's done with Sebastian Haller. Like he was a young 23-year-old striker where everyone wrote off. He's done absolutely fantastically well under him. Like Charlie McNeil, like he might be looking at obviously Cristiano coming to the end of his time. Charlie McNeil's 17. Like McNeil can really, if he puts in a great performance at UK final and then gets into that pre-season squad, like he can definitely, have massive chance to get into United's first team squad next season. So I think it's very important that they use this platform to their advantage. Having the likes of Ralph Ragnick around the football club, who likes working with young players, having Eric Ten Hag there, and this new kind of structural change that's happening, being a young player at United now, during this transitional period. If you have any bit of quality about you, now is the right time to show it.
I was just going to say that, Keane. I think at this moment in time, right now, if you're a young player at Manchester United, it's an ideal opportunity and it's a perfect sort of chance for you to sort of show what you can do, and you should be given an opportunity because of the way the club is at the moment. We've got a lot of change happening. There's new managers coming in. The first team players have massively underwhelmed and been miles off it. So that opportunity is there now for these young lads, and as you say, they need to try and take it. Obviously, there's a lot of pressure in a one-off game to try and perform, but we want to see some of these young players coming into the first team and getting our sort of homegrown lads part of this squad that can hopefully be moving forward.
Yeah, and look, even if they don't win, but they put in a good performance in front of the Old Trafford faithful and work hard, that'll mean a lot. That will absolutely mean a lot. And look, hopefully they can go out and make, obviously, just give a good account of themselves. Sir Alex will be there, with the time of the Youth Cup final. I think Ajax's season actually will still be on, just about. Ten Hag will probably be watching it, to be fair. Ralph Ragnick will be definitely taking notes. So, look, I think this is a massive occasion. I think people are sleeping on it. I think this is a very important moment in the club's history, this Youth Cup final, because we haven't won one in over a decade. And not only that, this is probably one of the best group of young players coming up in over a decade. And you have the biggest rebuild post Sir Alex Ferguson starting next season. This is pivotal in the club's history. I think people are really sleeping on it. I think this needs to be looked at on a massive, wider scale. And I think, look, this United obviously these young bunch of Reds, I think they can do it. I think they can beat Forest. I think Forest are a very good young team as well. As many young Nottingham Forest teams do, they're a brilliant football club. But I think Man United should win that game. And look, we actually will touch on that game in more detail in terms of predictions and stuff like that on the week of the final. The week before the final, which is next week. So we will chat about that in further detail. But it's been an absolutely fantastic conversation, guys. And it's just great to hear both of your perspectives, not only just on the first team, but also on the young lads as well. Because obviously, I think they do deserve a lot of recognition and a lot of praise. And look, you two know more than myself and Reese what it means to put on that shirt. So it's absolutely a pleasure to be on here with both of you as always. And look, I do appreciate every single podcast we do together. So thanks very much, Phil and Lee, for dedicating your time. And also thanks to Reese as well. But as more importantly, guys, thanks very much for your support and to tune into us every single Friday. It's been an absolute blast of a season. We've only a couple of weeks left of the season. And so it's been an absolute blast this season. I do enjoy chatting with you guys in the comments, and also chatting with Phil and Lee as well. But we're going to wrap it up there, guys. Thanks very much, everyone, for watching. Don't forget to smash that like button and hit the subscribe, and also hit that bell notification to the right of Lee there as well. And look, we will be back Monday on the Match Reaction Show. Mark will be back this Monday. Unfortunately, couldn't do it last night. He was unwell, but he will be back fit and firing and probably working more than Man United on Monday. So do check that immediately after the Brentford game as well. But thanks very much, everyone, for watching. Hope you all have a good weekend. And look, let's hope Man United don't let us down this coming Monday. But until then, guys, thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you then.